Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, and I threaded one needle, so this is a one needle project, and I have a comfortable amount of thread. I think I have like 4 feet on it. And we are going to be working with our Evas, our 11-0s, our 15-0s, our 3mm pearls, and our 8-0s for this first step. And for if you don't have 3mm pearls, you can also use 8-0 seed beads. You can also use like pretty much any other 3mm bead. So, or you can also, there for this part right here. So you can also even just use like a few 11-0s there, or so these don't need to be 3mm pearls, but I like them. So okay, so for our first step, and now for this first unit here, our first one, it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to start with I'm gonna go through an Eva bead like this, and I'm gonna go ahead and put my 15-0, my 3mm pearl in my 15-0, and then go down this hole of my Eva, and I'm gonna pull until everything is close to the bottom of my thread, or to the very end of my thread. Have a little bit of a tail. Now I'm going to pick up 3 11-0s, an 8-0, and 3 11-0s, and I'm going to pick up another Eva like this, and I'm going to go through this hole. And then I'm going to pick up my 15-0, my pearl, my 15-0, my pearl. I pulled too hard and I was pulling my tail out. Okay, so now I'm like this. And remember, this first little unit, we're not going to do the rest of our bracelet like this. This is just to get us started. So I have my 15-0, my pearl, and my 15-0. And I'm going to go down the other hole of my Eva. And since I'm just starting and I don't have that much of my thread, I'm holding on to everything as I pull. Now here I am coming out here. I'm going to pick up 3 11-0s. I'm going to go through this 8-0. And then I'm going to pick up 3 11-0s again. And just don't get tangled. I don't know how I did that. Oh, yes, I did. Okay, let me just untangle myself. And I'll be right back because I just tangled myself.
How are hundreds of jewelry makers saving huge each month on premium jewelry making kits? With the PotomacBeads kit subscription, you'll receive 3 brand new kits every month for as little as $49.99. That gives you a savings of up to $70 per box on retail prices. And you get free shipping. And there's no long-term commitment. You can cancel at any time. Subscribe today and enjoy top quality kits and massive savings. Visit PotomacBeads.com/subscriptions today, or click on the link below in the description to get links to get back to our website.
So when I came out of that 8-0, I should have just been coming out like this. And now I'm going to pick up 3 more 11-0s. And then I'm going to go through this Eva right here. So this is our first little unit. I'm not going to put on my my clasp just yet, okay? So here's where I'm coming out of, and I'm going to go down. I'm coming out of my Eva here. I'm going to go through these beads. Okay. I tried to get my Eva, and you kind of can't like that. Okay. So, and I caught an 11-0, that's fine. I want to be coming out of this 11-0 here on this side, okay? So I'm just going to go through these seed beads and my 8-0. Whoops. And then I'm gonna come out these 3 11-ohs. So now I'm ready to really get started on this bracelet. So here's our first little unit. Now, as I said, it's gonna be different from here on out. So once you do this little unit, sew until you're coming out of a little grouping of 3 11-ohs. Now from here, we're gonna do a little bit like a right angle weave. So we're going to pick up, we're coming out of 11-ohs. We're gonna pick up an 8-oh, another grouping of 3 11-ohs, an 8-oh, and another grouping of 3 11-ohs, and another 8-oh. So we need to have 4, like 1, 2, 3 8-ohs. Here's my 4th one, and then 4 groupings of 11-ohs. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to use those. So I have this on my needle or my thread. Again, 3 8-ohs separated with 2 groupings of 3 11-ohs. And then I'm going to go in through these 11-ohs, and I'm just going to sew out until I'm coming out of those. So this is what we have. So I'm just going to sew out until I'm coming out of these, coming out of the seed beads. So I'm just sewing, and I'm turning my piece in my hand. And then I'm going to work with this hand. Okay. So I'm going to go through this 8-oh. And I want to be coming out, this is how I like to do it. I want to be coming out of these 3 11-ohs. So again, we did our little unit here, and then I sewed until I'm coming out of these 11-ohs here. Now we need to add our Eva bead to sit like that, okay? So I'm gonna go in through my Eva bead, and then we have to decorate the inside of our Eva bead with our 15-oh, our pearl, and our 15-oh, and then go through the other hole of the Eva bead. Okay, like that. And now I'm going to pick up 3 11-ohs, and I'm going to sew through this 8-oh here, okay, so we can connect. And I'm actually going to go through these. I'm going to go through this 8-oh and these 11-ohs here, and I'm going to pull. So I'm coming out there through this grouping, and I'm going to pick up another Eva, and I'm going to connect that. Okay, so I'm going to go through my Eva like this. So in other words, our Evas are going to be like this all throughout our bracelet, like that, okay? So every time you pick it up, make sure the points are facing each other. So I'm coming out of my Eva. I'm just trying to get my tail thread out of the way. Coming out of my Eva, and I'm gonna pick up my beads that go there on the inside of it, which is the 15-oh, the pearl, and the 15-oh. I'm gonna go through my Eva. And now I need to add another grouping of 11-ohs and go through that 8-oh to connect. So it's 3 11-ohs. And then I'm going to go through this 8-oh, and then I'm gonna come out of these 11-ohs that are, once I go through there, I'm gonna go through those 11-ohs, okay? And then this will get us ready to do our next little section here at the center, okay? So I'm gonna do that again with you. Right, so I'm coming out of these 3 groupings, right? And then I'm going to pick up, because we're gonna do this little center area here. So we already have these 2 groupings of 11-ohs. We're gonna start with an 8-oh, and then our first grouping of 3 11-ohs, then an 8-oh, then our next grouping of 3 11-ohs, and then our 8-oh. So this is what I have, and then we're coming out through here. We're gonna go in down here and then come out through these groupings again, okay? So let's do that. Okay, so I'm coming out, and this is what we have. And I'm gonna go through this 8-oh and through those, well, I'm actually going to sew until I'm coming out of these, okay? So go through these. Whoops. And then up through this. And then up here. And then I want to be coming out of these 11-ohs. Sorry. So in other words, we need to be coming out in the direction to where out of our 11-ohs, like this, to where we can pick up our next Eva, like that. And then we're going to pick up our seed beads that go inside the space of that Eva, okay? So it's 15-oh, purl 15-oh, and then come out, go through the other hole of your Eva bead. I'm just going to pick it up with my hands. All right. And I'm just turning my piece as I'm working with it because I kind of have to. And so here we are. Now we have to connect this Eva by adding our little grouping here of 11-ohs. Going through this 8-oh. And then through those next 11-ohs. So we can pick up our next Eva. Okay? So I'm coming out of my 8-oh. So I'm going to go down these 11-ohs, and then I'm going to pick up my next Eva, okay? So, and then every time you pick up your Evas, remember, they have to be pointing at each other like that. So I'm going to go through my Eva, through the hole, and then I'm going to pick up the little seed beads, the 15-oh, the purl, and the 15-oh that go inside that Eva. And in all, I'm going to use, for me, I'm going to use about 28 Evas. 14 on each side. And so that's going to be big enough for my wrist. So you'll probably need anywhere from 28 to maybe 30 or 32 Evas to make this bracelet. Okay, so I'm coming out of this Eva. I got my 3 11-ohs. I'm going to go through this 8-oh, and then I'm going to come out of these 11-ohs here, okay? So going through the 8-oh, pulling my thread, and then I'm going to come up to these 11-ohs. And now I'm in position to do the little middle, this part here again, okay? So if you're not really sure what I did, you can go back and rewind the video and see how first you do this part here. Coming out of the 11-ohs, you're gonna add the 8-0, the grouping of 11-0s, the 8-0, the grouping of 11-0s, and the 8-0. There's more than one way when you're adding your Evas to do this. I'm just showing you how I did it. But I even thought maybe you can do this center first. Do like a line of right angle weave with your 8-0s and your 11-0s, and then coming back and connecting your Evas. I haven't tried it that way, but I was just kind of curious. But so yeah, go ahead and finish doing this part, and then I will show you what to do next. Okay, earlier when I said that, okay, I just added this little middle part, right? So I'm gonna show you another way you can add your Evas, because earlier I was sewing until I got down on this side, coming out of these 11-0s. Well, now I'm coming out of these 11-0s. So you can also do like this, where you're coming out of your 11-0s here. You can, well, no, you can go through this 8-0. And then from here, you can pick up, okay, so you're coming out of the 8-0 instead of coming out of the 11-0s, right? You can pick up 3 11-0s, go through your, now we have our Eva, you can go through the Eva, and then you can pick up your seed beads that go, your beads that go inside of it. And then you can come out of this other hole here. And then you can go up these little 11-0s right there. So like there's more than one way to add your Eva. So if you get confused after you do this little middle section and you're like, oh, how is she coming out of? She, you know, that was kind of weird. She did that kind of weird. Don't panic, because there's more than one way to do it. Okay, so now I'm coming out there. See, I'm coming out of my 8-0 here. Now here, you can add your 11-0s and then go through your Eva and then pick up these beads and go down and then go up these 11-0s. Or from your 8-0, you can go down the 11-0s and do it that way. So I'm just gonna do it that way. So if I looked kind of confusing the way I was doing it, there is more than one way, okay? So what we just really need to do, what you just really need to make sure is that your bracelet, your first step looks like this, okay? So go ahead and do that, and then I will meet you back and I'll show you what we do next. Okay, so I already put all my little Evas together, and I have my 28. Now I'm going to add my clasp. So for that part, this is how I'm gonna do it. So coming out of this grouping of 11-0s, I'm gonna pick up 2 11-0s, an 8-0, an 11-0, an 8-0, and then 2 more 11-0s. So this is how I'm doing it. It's 2 11-0s, an 8-0, an 11-0, an 8-0, and 2 11-0s. Coming out of here, I'm gonna come down through here. So I made myself another little component there. And I'm just gonna come out. I'm circling around, going through everything, making sure I don't skip anything. Now I'm going to sew till I get to my 8-0 bead, 8-0 seed bead, right there. And I'm gonna use one of these clasps. You can use any kind you want, but this is what I'm gonna use. And I'm going to pick up an 8-0 and an 11-0. I'm gonna go through one of my loops, and then down these 2 beads. Oh, can't even see what I'm doing, right? I went through my loop, And then I'm going to come down these 2 beads. I'm going to pull, and then I'm going to go back in through my 8/0 in this direction. And I'm going to reinforce that by going through it again. 8/0, 11/0, in through my loop, and then back down my 11/0 and my 8/0. And then I'm going to, not get caught. And then I'm going to go back in this way, and then I'm going to sew until I'm coming out my next 8/0. And I'm going to do that again. I'm going to connect this little loop now to it the same way by adding an 8/0, an 11/0, going through my loop. I think I'm too close and my hands are getting in the way. I'll have to fix that. And then coming out, here are my seed beads. And then I'm going to go in through my 8/0 again. And I am going to reinforce that again by going through everything. Whoop. Through the loop. Down my seed beads. Whoa. And back through my 8/0 this way, and then I'm going to sew down these beads, and that will get me in position for my next step. So I'm just gonna sew down these 11/0s. All right, okay. So we have added one part of our clasp. Now, you do not have to do it the way I did it. You do not have to add the 8/0 and 11/0 here. You can just go from your 8/0 here and through your loop and then back down. But that's what I did because I know that's what I need to do for my size. So go ahead and do your clasp, and then I will meet you back. Okay, so now I'm coming out. I added this part of my clasp. So now I sewed in through that 8/0, and I'm coming out of this first 11/0 here on this side, okay? Now, if you want, you can leave your bracelet like this and be done with it. I'm going to add some Montées, but I'm not going to add Montées in every single area here. I'm only going to do like every other one, okay? So I'm obviously not going to add one here, but I'm going to start here. So we're going to do a little bit of peyote stitch. To get us ready. Okay, so I sewed until I'm coming out of my first 11/0, okay? So I'm going to pick up, and what am I picking up? I am going to pick up a 15/0. I had already put my 15/0s away. Let me get them out. I'm going to pick up a 15/0. And then I'm going to skip this middle 11/0. I'm going to skip this middle one, and I'm going to go into my next one. And I'm going to do that all the way around. So we're going to put a little 15/0 right above our middle 11/0, okay? And then I'm going to go through my 8/0, and then I'm going to be coming out of my next 11/0. After my 8/0, I'm going to pick up another 15/0. I'm going to skip that middle 11/0, and I'm going to go through this one, through the third one. And then I'm going to go through, that will put my 15/0 there, and I'm just going to kind of push them in like that. Okay, now I'm coming out of here, I'm gonna go through my 8/0 and then through my next 11/0. I'm gonna pick up another 15/0 and I'm gonna go through this next 11/0. So obviously we're going to end up with 4 15/0s in this little section, right? Because we have 4 groupings of 11/0s here, 4 groupings of 3, right? So here's my last one, picking up a 15/0. And then I'm going to go through here, trying not to get out of frame. And then we need to be coming out of our this 15/0, gonna go through this 11/02, the first one after the 8/0. And then I want to be coming out of that first 15/0 that we added. And there we go. All right, so I'm coming out of that first 15/0 that we added. You probably can't see my other 15/0s because they're the same color as my 11/0s that I have there. But I do have 4 15/0s there on top of my middle 11/0s from the groupings. So I'm gonna get my first Monty. Okay. And I'm running out of thread. Okay. And I'm going to see if I can remember how I did this. Okay. Picking up my first Monty. I'm coming out of this 15/0 right here, and right here. I'm going to go to the one across from it, directly across from it, okay? So I'm going to go through this Monty, through this 15/0, and just going to kind of fix my Monty. It wants to turn on me, all right? So now you can kind of see our 15/0s a little bit better like that. And then I'm going to go back through the Monty the same way that I'm coming out. And then I'm going to go back through this 15/0 here where I started. Okay, so my Monty's backwards. When I connect it the other way with the other 15/0s, it will fix. So I'm coming out of this 15/0 here where I started. And now I'm going to go through this 11/0 and I'm going to sew until I get to my next 15/0. We're not using it yet to connect our Monty. So here we go. I have just reached it. And now is where I'm going to turn my Monty to face correctly, the way I want it to face. And then I'm going to go through that second hole, through that second, not hole, but that opening of our Monty. Looking for it. Okay, like that. Just turn it around. And now I'm going to go through this 15/0 directly across from the one I'm coming out of. And then back in through our Monty. And then into our 15/0. There we go. So I have added my first Monty. All right. It's not hard. It's just I'm using very tiny beads, the 15/0s. So it's kind of hard to film those. Well, for me anyway. So, but if you know how to do peyote stitch and you know that I'm adding 15/0s, here, let me get closer. Trying to get closer here and it's not working. All right. I don't know. I'm not able to get closer, but you know you have 4 groupings of 3 11/0s, right? You're going to add a 15/0 on top of each middle 11/0 by doing just, you know, a quick little peyote stitch. Then you're going to go in through your first 15-0 that you added, and then you're going to go through your Monty, and then go in through the 15-0 directly across from the one that you're using. Then go back to your Monty, through your Monty, and then through your 15-0 again. Then sew down to your next 15-0 and do the same thing. Okay, so that's my first Monty. I'm going to go ahead and add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to add 6 more, so I will have a total of 7 on mine. All right, so I will meet you back after I'm done. Okay, I've already added the last of my Monties, and I just sewed up in through here, and then I went through my no, I'm sorry. Okay, this is what I did. I was working here in the center, and then I went up this way, and then I'm just going to go down this way across these beads. And then from these last 2 that are part of when I added my clasp, these last 2 11-0 beads before this 8-0 bead, you don't have a thread path going into your your Eva bead. And we're gonna go ahead and make one now. So from these 2 last 11-0s, go in through your Eva bead. Your Eva bead. Okay, I have been calling these Eva beads this whole time, and I apologize. These are Eva beads. The Eva beads are the ones that look like V's, the full V shape with the 2 holes on the side. These are the shorter V shape. So these are Eva beads. So I have been calling them Evas. They're not Evas, they're Evas. So, but I'm referring to these short little V shape, these short V's. They're more like a chevron shape bead. Okay, so I keep calling them V shape, but they're more like a chevron shape, and they're Evas. Okay, so I apologize for that. So I've already sewn from these 2 11-0s that were part of the grouping that I added for my clasp, and I've gone into my Eva bead. I almost said Eva again. All right, so I'm coming out. Now from here, we're going to add a thread connecting. We're going to go through these little beads here inside of our Eva beads. We're going to come out of our Eva, go in through the 8-0, and then back down our next Eva bead. Go through these little beads here, go up the Eva, in through the 8-0, and down this next Eva. So we're just like basically connecting our Evas via our 8-0 beads, okay? So that's what we're going to do on this step. So we're not going to be adding any beads. We're just going to be going through everything that we already have on our bracelet. So I'm starting here with my little 3 beads. You might have a little bit of trouble when you're going through, okay, so here, coming out, I'm gonna go through my Eva, and then for my Eva bead, I'm going to go into this 8-0, and you might have to flip your bracelet over. You might have to go in like an angle, like not straight, but like at an angle. Let me try to see if I can do it this way. The ones where we have our Monties are going to be a little bit more snug, but it's still doable. I already did the other side, and I have cream on my hands, so that's another thing that's not helping me. Okay, so I'm coming out of my 8-0, see? And now I'm pulling my thread, not my needle, coming out of my 8-0, and I'm going to go down my next Eva bead. All right, so we're just going to connect all of these. And then now I'm back here on the side, on the inside of my Eva, and I'm going to go through these beads here too. And then down my Eva bead. And I did add the other part of my clasp already. And now, oops. Okay, and then now through my 8/0, coming out of my Eva, going into my 8/0. And do not catch any of your 11/0s that are beside your 8/0. Coming out of my 8/0, going down my Eva. Okay, so you get what I'm doing. So go ahead and do this on both sides. When you finish this side and you're coming out of your Eva, go up these two little 11/0s here, and then just sew across till you're coming out of these two and go into your Eva bead and do this side. Okay, so I made a hole in my beading pad. Okay, so sorry about that, a little distracted. So go ahead and finish, and then we will look at our finished piece together. Okay, so here's my finished piece, and you should have something similar if you followed along with me through all the steps. And as you can see, I just added 7 Montées, and only because I like how the open spaces look. So, but I also love bling, I love Montées, so that's why I added a few. Here's one that I haven't finished tying off yet, but here's another one that I did. This little hole in my mat is so embarrassing. I'm just gonna cover it. Here's another one that I did, and where I did not add any Montées to it, and it looks really pretty. So this is how they look on, and I think they look adorable. I like them a lot. Okay, so here's one. Here's the one that we just did, and here's another one I did with some jet Picasso or smoke Picasso Eva beads, some dark coral 3mm pearls, bronze and silver seed beads, and black or jet color Montées. So they all come out really pretty. They all look really pretty. So, well, this is what we have. I hope you enjoy making this. And oh, remember, you don't need to use 3mm pearls for the ends. You can use anything for this part here, but I do like how the 3mm round beads look. And okay, so this is what I have, and I hope you enjoy making this. And thank you very much for watching.